delivering quality education, expanding access to learning, serving learners' learning needs, tackling challenges of the present time, supporting every learner's dream, reaching young Tagumeños where they are today. From the music capital of the Philippines, advancing in the challenge of distance learning, the official TV-based instruction of DepEd Tagum City, bringing you quality education straight to your home. Plug yourself in. This is DepEd TV. Tara na!
Hello, our dear grade 8 learners. Today is another day full of learning about communication. I am so glad to be part of your journey as you discover new lessons through television. Airing from Salida La Filipina TV, I am your teacher on air, Teacher Marife from La Filipina National High School, in the service of DepEd Tagum City, aiming to continue education amidst the challenges brought by the pandemic. Together, we will master our competencies while staying at home. So, what are you waiting for? Let's start the lesson! In this session, you will learn how to organize your ideas into simpler form with the use of infographics and other textual aids. At the same time, you will learn how to interpret data presented in infographics. Let us learn starting with our lesson objectives. First, explain visual-verbal relationships illustrated in tables, graphs, and information maps found in expository text, which is also our most essential learning competency. Second, organize information from linear text or traditional text into infographics. And third, interpret data from infographics of expository text. Before we delve deeper to our lesson, let us try answering the pre-test, which will measure your previous knowledge about the topic. Please answer what is asked. You will be given 5 seconds to answer. And when you hear this sound, then time is up. Are you ready? Let's begin! Number 1. Look at this picture. What kind of text is this? A. Linear text, B. Non-linear text, or C. None of the above. Your time starts now. Time is up. The answer is letter A, linear text. Number 2. Look at this other picture. What kind of text is this? A. Linear, B. Non-linear, C. None of the above. Your time starts now. Time is up. The answer is letter B, non-linear text. Number 3. What appropriate textual aid are you going to use when you compare and contrast two things? A. Bar graph. B. Flowchart. C. Venn diagram. Your time starts now. Time is up. The answer is letter C, Venn diagram. Number 4. What appropriate textual aid are you going to use when you want to relate sizes of many things? A. Bar graph. B. Flowchart. Or C. Venn diagram. Your time starts now. Time is up. The answer is letter A, bar graph. Number 5. Based on this infographic from the city government of Tagum, what can be concluded? A. The number is alarming since Tagum City has recorded 1 death already. B. The number of added cases is not so alarming since we only recorded 1 number digit. Or letter C, the number of recoveries signifies that the healthcare system of Davao Regional Medical Center is efficient. Your time starts now. Time is up. The answer is letter C. The number of recoveries signifies that the healthcare system of Davao Regional Medical Center is efficient. How's your score? Congratulations for performing well. It's time to move forward. This time, let us study the information presented from the school publication The Harbinger, published in 2017, which will be presented in 2 ways. Let's read the first presentation. Based on the records from the Philippine National Police Traffic Accident Statistics, a number of casualties had been registered from January to June 2017. The highest number of deaths, which totaled 30 persons, include drivers of vehicles, followed by passengers, which totaled 16 persons. Meanwhile, there were also pedestrian casualties, which totaled 15. Now that you're done reading the first presentation of information, let us now look at the infographics with the same information presented. Now that you have seen the 2 ways of presenting the information, what difference have you noticed? Yes, the first one merely used words in presenting the data. At the same time, it took you around 30 seconds to finish reading. Also, it may be too wordy for the eye. While the second presentation of data, labels, numbers, images, and symbols were presented. At the same time, it took you only less than 10 seconds to get or analyze the information presented. Also, it is pleasing to the eye since it is not wordy. This comparison would show us that sometimes we need to use creative and appropriate ways of presenting data which can easily be understood by our readers. The infographics used earlier is an example of textual aid, which is considered non-linear text. It is called non-linear because you do not read the words from the beginning to end. Instead, the information is accompanied by tables, graphs, and information maps. Examples of textual aids are graphic organizers, concept maps, diagrams, and charts. However, the bits of information presented in textual aids or non-linear texts are derived from the linear text. You get the information from this text by reading the words sequentially, meaning from the beginning until the end. Do you still remember your classmate reporting a topic in the class with wordy visual aids written in Manila paper? What was your reaction as you attempted to read the report? Perhaps you would consider it not interesting, or maybe too tiresome to read because it is so wordy. This is the reason why we must learn how to present information effectively with the use of textual aids. Especially if we extract information from expository texts like news articles, information books, instruction manuals, recipes, and textbooks. We will also learn how to interpret data presented in textual aids. Although we have so many textual aids, we will just focus only on 3 examples: the Venn diagram, the flowchart, and the infographics. First, the Venn diagram. It is used when we identify, classify, categorize, and recognize similarities and differences. Let's take activity earlier when we compared linear text and non-linear text in a form of infographics. Let's reread the linear text first. Based on the records from the Philippine National Police Traffic Accident Statistics, a number of casualties had been registered from January to June 2017. The highest number of deaths, which totaled 30 persons, include drivers of vehicles, followed by passengers, which totaled 16 persons. Meanwhile, there were also pedestrian casualties, which totaled 15. How shall we present the similarities and differences of texts using the Venn diagram? First, label the green part with linear text and blue part with non-linear text. Next, write what is common between the two in the intersecting part of the circle. In this case, both types of text give information. Then, write what is unique to each type of text on their respective circles. First, linear text uses words, while non-linear text uses labels, numbers, and symbols in presenting the data. Second, linear text takes longer time to finish reading, while non-linear text takes less time to get the data. Third, linear text is wordy, while non-linear text is not wordy. How do you find it? It's easy, right? Let's proceed to the second textual aid, the flow chart. This sequence chart shows series of events in order, steps, process, and sequence. In classroom setting, sometimes you are required by your teachers to narrate steps you have undertaken in science experiment or the steps you followed in the recipe. Instead of reading the procedure, we may as well use the flowchart to present the data. And this is how we do it. Let's watch again our lesson in Mathematics 7 on operations of rational numbers. Take note of the steps taken in subtracting the similar fraction.
Number 1. 4/5 minus 1/2. Are these fractions similar or dissimilar? Of course they are dissimilar, simply because the denominators are different. How did you subtract 1/2 from 4 over 5? First, find the least common denominator or LCD. Copy the denominators 5 and 2. Get the prime factors of each denominator. Remember, prime factors are factors which are divisible only by itself and 1. So, what are the factors of 5? You're right! 1 and 5. But, just write only the prime factor 5. What are the factors of 2? You're right! 1 and 2. So just write prime number 2. Copy each common factors 1 and bring down the non-common factors which are 2 and 5. Then multiply all the prime factors and the product is the LCD. So the LCD is 10. How do we use the LCD in connection with the problem 4 over 5 minus 1 over 2? It is used as the dividend. Now, let's start solving. The LCD is 10. So, 4 over 5 minus 1 over 2 is equal to, divide the LCD by the denominator, so 10 divided by 5 equals 2. Multiply the answer by the numerator, so 2 times 4 is 8. Write 8 as a partial numerator of the answer, then copy the minus sign. Divide 10 by the denominator 2. The answer is 5. Then multiply 5 by the numerator 1. So 5 times 1 is 5. Then write it after the minus sign. Then copy the LCD 10. Subtract the numerators. 8 minus 5 equals 3. So we have a new fraction 3 over 10, which is the difference of 4 over 5 and 1 over 2. This further means that 4 over 5 is bigger than 1 over 2 by 3 over 10.
I know you have taken your notes well. Let us now transform your gathered information from the video into a flowchart showing the steps in subtracting dissimilar fraction. Subtracting dissimilar fraction. First, find the least common denominator. Next, divide the LCD by the denominator in each fraction. Then, multiply the answer by the numerator of each fraction. After, subtract the numerators and copy the denominator. How do you find the activity? It's manageable, right? Let's proceed to the third textual aid, the infographics, which may include tables, numbers, and graphs. Infographics are great for making complex information easy to digest. It may combine any of the textual aids, and look at these examples. This example from the school publication, The Harbinger, uses numbers like the total amount of deficit of 25,000 pesos. By looking at the percentages, it can be deduced that this is the breakdown of the deficit. The symbols for the clubs or subject area would help in understanding the focus of the club. Even without words explaining these infographics, it is easy to make conclusion. Now that you have understood how to make textual aids, let us now practice transforming linear text to non-linear text. To to show the visual and verbal relationship in expository text. Let us first watch the Salida TV episode in Science 7, take note of the explanation, and then make a Venn diagram showing similarities and differences of solute and solvent as substances in the solution.
Orange juice is one of our go-to drinks during hot sunny days. We simply mix the powder, sugar, and the cold water together to quench our thirst. By doing so, we already made a solution. Solution is a mixture that has a uniform composition. In order to produce this, two substances are being used, the solute and the solvent. Solute is a component of a solution that is being dissolved and normally present in a smaller amount. On the other hand, solvent is a component of a solution that dissolves the solute and it is normally greater in amount.
You are given 15 seconds to make your Venn diagram. Let's check your answer. For the similarity, both are substances in the solution. For the differences, solute is a substance being dissolved while the solvent is the one which dissolves the solute. Another difference is solute is present in small amount while solvent is normally in greater amount. Did you get it right? Very good! Let's try another one. Watch the Salida TV episode in cookery and enumerate the steps in preparing cold dessert called chocolate mousse. You may take note as you watch along.
At this point, let us practice some example of cold and hot dessert. For our cold dessert, we will make a chocolate mousse, or the chocolate mousse is considered to be as one of the basic example of a cold dessert. A mousse can be integrated as a part of a cake, or it can be eaten as is.
Procedure: whip the cream until it becomes double in size. Melt the dark chocolate using a double boiler method. Mix both ingredients using a cut and fold method. Serve in a parfait glass or in an old-fashioned glass. Whip the cream in a stand mixer. Make sure that our cream is chilled for at least 2 hours. Whip it in a medium-high speed. When our cream is now double in size and it becomes soft peaks, it is now ready to be incorporated to our melted dark chocolate. Melt the dark chocolate using a double boiler method. Now, add our dark chocolate. Mix it well until the chocolate will become melted. After the chocolate is melted, mix it now into our whipped cream. Mix it using the cut and fold method. To plate our chocolate mousse, put it on a piping bag and present it in an old-fashioned glass or in a parfait glass. Top with sprinkles to garnish. This is our chocolate mousse.
You are given 15 seconds to make your flowchart. Let's check your answer. First step is whip the cream until the size is doubled. Next, melt dark chocolate using double boiler method. Then, mix ingredients using cut and fold method. Next, top with sprinkles and serve in glass. Did you get it right? Very good! Now that you have mastered the competency, let us remember the steps in transforming linear text to non-linear text. First, read the text and get the main idea. Second, extract necessary information for the visual presentation. Third, remember to use keywords or phrases only. Fourth, classify information into categories. And number 5, make sure to use the correct textual aid to present the information. Let us now assess your learning by answering this activity. As you put your knowledge into higher application, you will interpret the information presented by the different non-linear text in a form of textual aids like infographics. You will be given 5 seconds before you answer the question, and when you hear this sound, then time is up. Number 1. Based on this infographic from the school publication, The Harbinger, what is the major reason why students got involved in cutting classes? A. Mood of the students. B. Hectic schedule of classes. C. Irresponsible teachers who did not take their job seriously. Or D. Health reasons like lost bowel movement among others. Your time starts now. Time is up. The correct answer is letter A, mood of the students, since they consider being in class as boring, which was the highest response in the survey. Number 2. Study these infographics from the city government of Tagum released on November 11, 2020. Look at the barangay with the highest number of active cases of COVID-19. Suppose your cousin is living in Barangay Visayan Village and he invited you to his birthday party. Would you go? A. Yes, I will go, because he might get offended if I won't. B. Yes, I will go, because I will be wearing face mask and face shield all the time. C. No, I will not go, because my mother might get angry with me. Or letter D, no, I will not go because I might get infected since their area is considered hotspot. Your time starts now. Time is up. The correct answer is letter D, because there is a big chance of virus contamination when an area is considered a hotspot. Number 3. Study this graphical presentation of the occupied and vacant beds as well as available equipment dedicated exclusively for COVID-19 patients published by the Department of Health as of November 10, 2020. Based on the numbers presented, is it safe to say that persons with COVID-19 is not at risk at hospital? A. Yes. B. No. C. Maybe. Or D. Hard to say. Your time starts now. Time is up. The correct answer is letter A. Yes, because the number of vacant beds exceed the number of occupied beds, which means even if the cases are rising, still they can be accommodated. Watch this next video clip, which uses infographics to explain concepts about coronavirus.
Coronavirus is often compared to the flu, but actually it's much more dangerous. While the exact death rate is hard to pin down during an ongoing pandemic, we know for sure that it's much more contagious and spreads faster than the flu. There are two futures for a pandemic like corona: fast and slow. Which future we will see depends on how we all react to it in the early days of the outbreak. A fast pandemic will be horrible and cost many lives. A slow pandemic will not be remembered by the history books. The worst-case scenario for a fast pandemic begins with a very rapid rate of infection because there are no countermeasures in place to slow it down. Why is this so bad? In a fast pandemic, many people get sick at the same time. If the numbers get too large, healthcare systems become unable to handle it. There aren't enough resources like medical staff or equipment like ventilators left to help everybody. People will die untreated. And as more healthcare workers get sick themselves, the capacity of healthcare systems falls even further.
Number 4. The following statements are reasons why fast spread of the virus is dangerous for our survival, except one. Which one? A. Many people get sick at the same time. B. Healthcare systems are unable to handle cases. C. There are not enough staff and equipment like ventilators to help everybody. Or D. Many pharmaceutical companies would double their efforts in producing the vaccine. Your time starts now. Time is up. The correct answer is letter D. Since producing vaccine by pharmaceutical companies is not a threat to our survival. Watch this another video clip which uses infographics to explain concepts about coronavirus. Number 5. Why do we need to practice hand washing, social distancing, and quarantine in fighting coronavirus? A. So we could delay death. B. So we could use to the maximum our available technology. C. So we could prove that human intelligence is better than the threat from nature. Or letter D. So we could protect ourselves and those who are protecting us like the frontliners. Your time starts now. Time is up. The correct answer is letter D, because these measures, although considered uncomfortable, is beneficial to all because our human contact is the top reason for the spread of virus. How's your score? Very good, students! I hope that you have learned great lessons today. May these learnings help you become a better communicator of information and better user of information. As a point of reflection, let me borrow Nelson Mandela's quote, which says, "If you talk to a man in a language he understands, that goes to his head. If you talk to him in his language, that goes to his heart. That ends our lesson for today. This has been your teacher on air, Teacher Marife. See you in the next episode, only here at Salida La Filipina TV.
Salida La Filipina, ang iyong pangarap ay kikislap. Salida La Filipina, ang daungan ay magkakuntal. Salida La Filipina, edukasyon, abot kamay. Salida La Filipina, ang tagamay sa tagumpay.
Mga kabataan, huwag panghinaan. Salida La Filipina ay bigyan daan. Ito ay magbibigay ng kaalaman. TV naman ngayon ang inyong paaralan. Mahirap man ang inyong sitwasyon, tayo ay magtulungan para sa edukasyon. Bawat isa ay mayroong misyon, matutong mabuti, maging inspirasyon.
Salida La Filipina, ang iyong pangarap ay kikislap. Salida La Filipina,